Well, good evening, guys, folks, people, friends, enemies, people interested in this subject. And most of all, for our grandchildren. Those who know their grandchildren and those who don't. Those who are allowed to see their grandchildren and those who are deprived of them for no fault of their own. Those grandchildren exist, and the pain to the grandparents is never understood until it happens to those who have allowed that to happen to themselves. What goes around comes around. So this is for my grandchildren and your grandchildren. It's on depopulation because we could be popped off a lot quicker than the others, but we might all go together. This is the subject, the topic of this chapter. Well, it's not a chapter, there's no chapters, it's continuous. But where I stopped, I'll continue. There's no scripture in this because it's too long. Good men who knew the truth failed us completely. All life is being eroded. Our blueprint is under massive threat. Depopulation is a very serious and very real agenda. They want us useless eaters wiped out. They tell us we have a 7 billion plus human head count and rising fast. They also tell us nothing can last and that we have surpassed our limits, and then some. Too many people is now being touted to us, and we just accept what we're being told. I know people who, upon hearing this statement, then said, well, let's get rid of those starving Africans. I was married to a Jamaican and I find that offensive. Whoever said it is beyond speech. You can see how this useless eater mentality then works. Suddenly, this overcrowding panic grips, and we become agreeable that some of us must be cold. Well, I'm not one of them, and neither is David Yates. This is disgraceful, but we believe it's that we know. We not believe, we know. Funny how those doing the professing then refuse to be first in the culling queue. We're for sure, a selfish bunch of bastards. 7 billion plus isn't my head count. I very much doubt that it's yours either. Take a look around. Do you truly see overpopulation? I can't speak for the rest of you, but we're not overpopulated where I am. We're very, very comfortable and very blessed. And I thank the Lord that we have such, pleasant surroundings and comfortable living. But it's not so for everyone in the world, but that isn't their fault. It's the fault of their governments, and ours is just getting as bad. So we might see that kind of poverty again one day, because they're not very good, are they? Whoever they are, whatever their claims. Let's get back to the reading. I don't apart from towns and cities that are being force-fed their populace. Get away from the lie of the cities in any country, and what do you see? You see farmlands that are, for the most part, left fallow and not used to produce food and such. Get away from the hustle and the bustle and go into the villages and remote areas. and the extent of this overpopulation lie becomes only too apparent. I agree with that. I know it's still true. No one's paying real attention to this fake 7 billion head count, nor to the lie that we must cull and thin out our herd. It's against God's creation and God's will. I'll put that in there. It's not your words, David, but it's mine. We've reached a stage whereby we have allowed the greedy to trample the needy under their toxic culling foot. Tut, tut, tut. 7 billion peoples on this earth. 7 billion, and yet no real heroes. No men with balls, nor women with the gall to make our stand and thus demand a cease of all things nefarious. 7 billion of us, and almost no one is fighting. The few of us that don't equate. We're not fighting a war. We should clearly see, even once the blinkers are removed, a very different and slow kill, deliberate war, systematic assault on a supermassive scale taints the drinkables, the edibles, the medications, and even our minds. Fluoride scuppering and screwing with brains, herbicides, pesticides, biocides, then become our suicide, systematically poisoning every living thing. Even entertainment is being used to abuse and confuse us to fating point. Everything is now an agenda to change and rearrange us. These agendas will not be a saviour, nor our white knight. How very neat that those elite created this mass deceit prior to our defeat. There's a tiny minority of people that know the truth, but of those that know, still there remains more who choose to ignore the evidence, to shy away and to cower. Deaf ears and blind eyes have been well and truly turned, despite them not really being deaf nor blind. It stinks. It truly does. Where are our heroes? The ones who envisage our tomorrows, less sorrows. Where the hell are you? When I tell you that they spray barium, I always hope that you will take the words barium and research it thoroughly. Find out what exactly it is. Various compounds will then compound you. For instance, they use barium azide, barium chlorate, barium nitrate, barium perchlorate, plus barium peroxide. All these compounds are combustible and super destructive. Lithium is sprayed and can be visible in the sky, often seen as a pink haze. Remember, lithium is also used to mentally subdue mental health patients. Lithium is highly reactive and very toxic and dangerous to both life and environments. The sun reacting with these chemicals intensifies and radiates everything, every life form. We have surpassed the threat to life and are now in the extinction stage. Ultraviolet radiation is our clear and present danger. Those lingering white chemical and deliberately spewed aerosol lines you see up in the sky are just part of the depopulation venture that plays itself out daily and to much success. Who takes any of this as warning or even seriously? The Earth's atmosphere offers zero protection from the ultraviolet radiation. It's truly up to us now to protect ourselves. We have a super weak ozone layer and an even weaker populace, a shameful populace who cares more about beer, cigarettes, next fix of drugs, next lay, yet cares not one iota to actually fight and resist what is coming to pass. We're being radiated at a ridiculous rate, and did you know that radiation is the negative influence to all life? Ocean life, microbe life, all of it, and us. We are now the endangered fresh foods, water, all endangered and systemically made putrid. Look at the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. It isn't dying, it is dead, bleached, not from climate change, but from radiation. Radiation from the nuclear disaster at Fukushima, Japan. All biology is being altered because this stuff is lethal. We have cell and hormone damage, cancers off the charts. Everyone is destined to be affected, and yet who's joining these radiated dots? Coal fly ash is another toxic compound of particulate matter being aerosolized from chemtrail planes. Chlorine, bromide, fluorine, iodides, and other materials are on this seemingly endless list, all weaponized and designed to screw me, you, and all life too. As far as I'm concerned, none of this aerosolized spraying is in fact management. It's neither engineering, it can't be. If it is, then what poor engineering under truly poor management? Who in their right mind would try and reverse engineer all life? What a backward step. Think about it. Everything we have been told is the opposite of truth. And we believe what we are told because science or scientists who are bent tell us so. They're not real scientists if they're telling us what they're telling us. Simple. They're pretending. They know the truth, but they're deliberately forging the opposite for their own intentions. The radiation from Fukushima alone is now unstoppable. But do you ever hear mention of this ongoing onslaught in the mainstream medias, the BBC, the ITV, all those television networks which I have no dealings with? I don't wish to. Fukushima is responsible for the first ever ozone hole over the Arctic. You won't hear the media telling this story. Aluminium, strontium, barium and lithium spraying, however large or small, is constructive destruction. Governments and military are all involved, even the media. They know. The media are a huge player in the massive cover-up and of denying we the people the truth. Media's refusal to investigate deems them culpable and as guilty as the actual perpetrators of not just aerosolizing but vaccines, GMOs, fluoride, 5G and all systematic poisoning. Scientists play more than their part. They covet their wages, their funding, their prestige and reputations far more than any truth. They're paid liars, and boy, how they do a great job. Remembering this quote direct from me, all scientists and science place reliance upon defiance. Let me reiterate that. All scientists and science place reliance upon defiance. They believe anything is achievable and at any price. They get more than enough funding to be able to eventually invent new maths to explain their fake sciences. And that's when it all turns to shit at any and all expenses. They just do not give a toss. Their goal steals souls. Fact. They pretend they know everything, when in actual fact they know all there is to know about absolutely nothing, because their ideas and theories are just that, ideas from imagination and theories that are worked and overworked until they eventually make some sense. Throw enough money and time at anything, and anything is possible. And all scientists know this, and they then abuse the situation until they come up with results that seem always to work not in our favour. There are no real whistleblowers because they are in the process of reinventing the whistle. Those who do wish to speak out are reluctant because of fears of being ridiculed, sacked with the loss of pension, or even killed. There are no brave scientists, only stupid ones. They've probably killed off the real scientists because they do exist, but they're frightened. Even when they understand their own lies, they still continue to perpetrate them until the bitter end. We are smack bang at the point of catastrophe. Extinction level is where we're at. Are you hearing me? An extinction level event is playing itself out before our very eyes, under our very noses, and no one wishes to openly discuss any of it. Shame on us! Shame and blame be heaped upon us all. Time for talking is long past by, and yet talking is now the only real weapon we have left to at least try and come up with a last ditch attempt at saving something, anything, and we fail to even try. Life is dying all around. The Pacific Ocean isn't dying, it is dead. Species extinction reports daily from around the earth should be our alarm bell. Sadly, these reports never get aired by any mainstream medias. No one sees the enormity of all life at its brink. No one stops to think. Massive increases of diseases, illnesses, and syndromes pass as if simply the new normal. They are not and cannot be natural, but they are now normal. Our blasé is not our cool. Doing nothing to help ourselves is actually us consenting to partake in our being suicided. The deliberately planned murder of all life. No public notifications. No discussions. Everything deemed convenient conspiracy, thus ushering in this destruction, to be replaced with a new world order. Order from the chaos planned just for us. Look at the life you take for granted, not just your own life, but all forms of life. Insects are disappearing, bees sick with human-like dementia. Yes, you heard that right, bees suffering a human type of dementia. Aluminium oxides have much to be responsible for. I myself ain't just sat back idly watching this unfold. I am active. I am a factivist, gathering truth, facts and proof to present to anyone who will listen, in the hope someone will, with clout, is listening. David Yates is only a humble, lovely, ordinary working man, and I'm just a nobody little widow on my own, living alone with neighbours, yes, very close by. Very nice too. The ways of all life forms have changed, and so quickly as agendas to purposefully alter life get more than underway, they are now at fruition. Well guys, I'm going to stop there because there's so much more to read and it cannot all go in one video. So I'm going to thank you very much for listening. That was a lot to take in, but because it's the truth, you need to reflect on some of those points that I've tried to make. I don't want to upset people, I don't want to distress people, but I would like you to open your eyes. Open your eyes. Get the book. If you can't, You'll have to stay bored with me because I intend to get through this, and I'll read other books by other people. I will read Vernon Coleman's, the rest of his stuff that I've got, but this has made me put him on hold while I continue to read David Yates. But you can do your own research. You can go to libraries. You don't have to have the internet. You can share all this knowledge with your family, friends, and anyone who will listen. You only need to look at the skies. Look at the videos that come on Mel Keb and two preachers. They're Christians. I'm Christians, but not. It's everybody. The world belongs to everybody. It's not just Christians. We're very minute, actually, unfortunately. But we're expected to tell the truth. We're expected to tell you the truth as we understand it and we know it. Certainly in lockdown, you haven't got any truth from the churches. They're towing the line, which is sad. No one has spoken up. I know that the Lord in His Word tells us to obey those in authority, and we do. I respect them, but I have my own opinions, and we all need our own opinions. It's not to say that who's right and who's wrong. We're not in that. But we have to follow our heart and our mind and our thoughts, and we have to gain and seek knowledge. We have grandchildren. We have a responsibility to them. The future of those grandchildren depends on us seeking the truth and doing something about it. Spreading this word. Nobody's talking about it. I don't see your television, but my neighbour's got one. I'm going in there in a few minutes. I talk to her in small little bits because she doesn't hear anything like this on there. But we must seek the facts. They exist. They're out there. And your grandchildren and my grandchildren, they have the power to read and search, and they must start doing it, and they must start nagging us, nagging a parent. We must waken people up. I don't know what's going on. People aren't curious anymore. This isolation has made people even worse. They want the isolation. So we can't talk to one another. So we can't tell one another what we're finding out and what we know. But we have to. They're doing research on other things and they're talking about that. The terrible subjects, they're bringing the truth out about them. But by the time they reach to this subject, there won't be a world left to bring any facts out. If we can't breathe, we can't protect the environment, we can't stop this pollution, deliberate poisoning of the world. I've said enough. Good night and God bless, and I look forward to reading some more tomorrow. I've had enough for one day. It's taken me all day, you know.